It's the hottest day of the summer. You're at a lake, the water looks perfect, so you do the most natural thing in the world. You run off the end of the dock and jump in. And the instant you hit the surface, a rush of warm water shoots straight up your nose. You come up laughing, snort it out, and swim off. You've done it 1,000 times, everyone has, and almost every single time it is completely harmless. But under the wrong conditions, in that ordinary nose full of warm lake water, there can be something alive, a single cell, far too small to see. And if it's there, it doesn't get flushed back out with everything else. It grabs onto the inside of your nose, and it starts to move. Not down into your body, up, toward your brain. And once it gets there, it does exactly what its nickname says it does. It eats your brain. If that happens, you will almost certainly die, and there is very little anyone can do to stop it. This is the story of Naegleria fowleri, the brain-eating amoeba. It's the story of a door at the top of your nose that you never knew existed, one that opens directly into your skull. It's the story of why you could safely drink this exact same water, but must never let it up your nose. And it ends with the single most important and genuinely reassuring thing you can know about it. But before any of that, you have to understand what this thing actually is. Because it isn't a monster hunting you. Most of the time, it isn't even a threat. Naegleria fowleri lives, right now, in warm fresh water all over the planet. Lakes, ponds, slow rivers, hot springs, undertreated pools. It is common and ancient, and for essentially all of its existence it has nothing whatsoever to do with you. Its actual job, its whole life, is drifting around warm water and mud, eating bacteria. It's a janitor. It loves heat. It does best at around 42 degrees Celsius, which will matter later. But it has no interest in humans at all. And here's the first reassuring thing, which is stranger than it sounds. You cannot be infected by drinking it. Swallow a whole mouthful of contaminated lake water, and your stomach acid destroys it instantly. It can't get in through your skin. It can't pass from one person to another. In nearly every way you could possibly meet this amoeba, absolutely nothing happens. There is exactly one way in, and it's a very specific, very strange one. The only way this thing can hurt you is if water carrying it is forced up your nose, not your mouth, your nose. And to understand why that one narrow path is so deadly, you have to know something about your own skull that almost no one ever thinks about. At the very top of your nasal cavity, tucked up behind the bridge of your nose, sits a thin sliver of bone called the cribriform plate. And it is not solid. It's perforated, riddled with tiny holes like a sieve. Those holes are there on purpose. They're how you smell. Fine threads of your olfactory nerve reach down through them, from your brain into your nose, to catch the odor molecules in the air, which means there is a cluster of little openings at the roof of your nose that lead directly into your brain. Evolution built you a door so you could smell the world, and that door has no lock. So here is what happens on the rare, terrible occasion that everything lines up. The amoeba, riding that jet of water, lands high inside your nose, right where the smell nerves are, and then it does something almost unbelievable. It follows them home. Scientists think it senses the chemical signals your nerve cells use to talk to each other and treats them like a scent trail, a breadcrumb path leading straight up. It crawls along the olfactory nerve, slips through those tiny holes in the cribriform plate, and comes out the other side inside your skull, at the part of your brain that processes smell, sitting right behind your eyes. And now it's arrived in the richest food source it has ever encountered. It begins to feed. On your neurons. It multiplies, eating brain tissue directly, and then your immune system finally notices the intruder and floods the area with cells to fight it, which makes your brain swell, inside a skull with nowhere to expand. Tissue being devoured from the inside, and a brain crushing itself against bone. That combination has a name, primary amoebic meningoencephalitis, and it is what kills you. And it kills almost everyone. This is the number this entire video is built on. Of roughly 180 known cases in the United States going back to the 1930s, only about 4 people have ever survived. 4. That's a fatality rate above 97%, and not 97% untreated. 97% with everything modern medicine can throw at it. Once this amoeba is in your brain, we have almost nothing that reliably stops it. And it's fast. The first symptoms, a headache, a fever, some nausea, usually don't show up for several days, and they look exactly like a summer bug, so nobody worries. Then comes the stiff neck, the confusion, the hallucinations, the seizures, and death usually follows within about 5 days of that first headache. By the time anyone understands what they're actually looking at, it is nearly always far too late. And these are not old textbook cases. They're real people, and they're recent. In 2025, a 12-year-old died after swimming in a lake in South Carolina. In 2023, a young child died after playing on a splash pad in Arkansas, not even a lake. And here's the one that unsettles people most, because it removes the lake entirely. In 2024, a healthy 71-year-old woman in Texas died after rinsing her sinuses with a neti pot she'd filled from the tap water in her RV. She never went swimming. The water only had to go up her nose. And the map is quietly growing. Because this amoeba loves heat, a warming climate is nudging its range northward, into lakes and states that never used to worry about it. And researchers are now finding it in the hot springs of places like Yellowstone. Warmer water for longer summers, over a wider area, means more chances for these paths to cross. Now, here is the part I promised, and it's the part you should actually walk away with. Because everything you just heard is true, and it is also genuinely, deeply rare. In the entire United States, where tens of millions of people swim in warm freshwater every summer, there are only somewhere between 0 and 8 cases in a whole year. You have almost certainly, at some point in your life, gotten warm lake water up your nose while it contained this exact amoeba, and been completely fine, because the odds of any single exposure turning into an infection are minuscule. You are far more likely to drown, or to be struck by lightning. This is not a reason to fear the water. It's a reason to remember one thing, because this amoeba has exactly one door in, your nose, which means, unlike almost every danger in nature, you can simply close it. Hold your nose, or wear a nose clip, when you jump or dive into warm fresh water. Keep your head up in warm, shallow, stagnant water in the heat of summer. And never rinse your sinuses with unboiled tap water. Use distilled, or water you've boiled and let cool. That's the whole defense. It costs nothing. And it's most important for kids, for a genuinely eerie reason. A child's cribriform plate, that sieve of bone at the roof of the nose, is more porous than an adult's. On a child, the door sits open just a little wider, so it's the children roughhousing in the warm shallows who most need someone to have told them, when you jump, hold your nose. So the next time you're standing at the end of a dock on a blazing hot day, looking out at that flat, warm, perfect water, you don't need to be afraid of it. Millions of people jump in every summer and climb out perfectly fine. Just carry the one thing you now know that they don't. The lake was never the danger. The danger is the single door at the top of your nose that opens straight into your brain, a door evolution gave you so you could smell the world, and how astonishingly little it takes for something to slip through it. So when you jump, hold your nose. It's the cheapest insurance you will ever buy.